You saw the title. Yep, I want to make a visual novel. I've always wanted to make one, but I never had any ideas that would work for it. That was until I cooked up this insane plot for a roleplay. That I never ended up finishing because the server kind of died. But it was too good, so here I am reworking it for a visual novel. But you might be wondering, how are you going to accomplish this? Well, in small bits, my dear viewer. This might end up being a long-running series on my channel where I work on this slowly. I won't have a video every week on it, but occasionally I will. So let's get on with this. The most important thing in a visual novel is the protagonist. Actually, the protagonist is important in any story, but definitely a visual novel since the player is playing as them. In visual novels, I noticed you can go a few ways with the protagonist. In some, the protagonist is a blank slate. You as the player are supposed to insert yourself into the protagonist. Not all visual novel protagonists are like this though. Some of them are their own characters. So that left me with the decision on what I wanted to do. Do I make a blank slate protagonist, or do I give this protagonist character? Now, if you know me, I love writing and creating, so naturally, I went with giving them character. Luckily, I have a basement full of muses I don't use, so I just need to pick one of them to act as our main character for this visual novel. I settled for this muse I made named Sunwoo. He was created back in 2021, and I used to do a decent amount with him until I sort of ditched him for some different muses. So he's been mostly basemented since. But I've recently had an interest in him again since I kind of reached the end of my character development arcs with my main muses. And yes, my muses do in fact develop and grow with time. Time does not stop for them. I'm too addicted to character development to let that happen. Another reason why I went with having a more defined character as the protagonist for the visual novel is just because I was never a fan of self-inserts. No hate to anyone who does though. I respect your likes as long as it's not problematic and illegal. But for myself, I just never clicked with self-insert protagonists. Sure, you're meant to imagine them as you, but a lot of the time, I just can't. Partially because I am my own biggest hater, but also because I find it hard to write a good self-insert blank slate character. A lot of them just end up so boring, which I get the point, but still, I love flavor blasting my characters, I'm sorry. But at the same time, I can't make the personality too distinct here because I think having the flexibility of choice is nice in a visual novel game, which is another reason why I chose Sunwoo for this. Yes, he does have a defined personality, but I feel like you can still have some choice with him. He has his core personality traits, but it's your choices that refine some of the smaller things. Because at his core, Sunwoo is kind of a hothead who comes off like an asshole sometimes. He's a perfectionist who flusters a bit easily, but he does care for people and has some morals. Those are sort of his core traits. I imagine with the choices I'd give, you can lean into either part of his personality more and it can still be in character. Like, if you want him to be more mean, it's still in character. But if you have him act softer sometimes with the choices, then it'll also still work. He's pretty similar to Ji-hoon in a lot of aspects, but I feel like Ji-hoon is more mature than Sunwoo and would make less stupid mistakes. Trust me when I say Sunwoo makes questionable decisions and a lot of mistakes sometimes. So that works for this. Now, you might be wondering what is the plot of your visual novel. I'm not going to give too many spoilers here because if I actually get the will to complete the demo, then I want you guys to experience it for yourself. Yes, you heard that right. Demo. Because unfortunately, my writing was too ambitious to keep it contained to something really short. So basically, the visual novel takes place in a city called Arcana City. In the universe this takes place in, there are humans, and then supernatural creatures ranging from your typical ones like vampires and werewolves, all the way to higher beings like angels and demons. Sunwoo is a human who graduated recently and managed to land a job at the police station as a rookie detective thanks to the help of Johan, who is his childhood friend. But let's say being a human in this world is tough, and he's probably going to have many near-death experiences thanks to it. Unfortunately, he is not going to have an easy time as a rookie because he gets dragged into a case called Case 4202 by one of his colleagues. And what is Case 4202? Well, you'll have to find out whenever I do release this though. Though the demo would only cover the prologue, so you don't get started into Case 4202 yet. You at least get an explanation as to what it is. I ended the demo there because I thought it was a good point. I already have an entire script written out for the prologue. Script as in story script, not actual coding. Because Lord, you know I will suffer when I eventually get into the coding. So Johan was always Sunwoo's childhood friend, so there was no random changes to the lore there. I did my best to keep all of my muse's lore intact because that is their core, but I've changed some to better fit the setting. Now, my good friend Joey, whom I've mentioned here many times, was a part of this plot, and so naturally, I included his characters with permission, of course. He's very gracious to let me write things with his characters in them, so I'll just make sure I do them justice. But back to the video. I'll talk about what I'm doing in the speed paint. Obviously, I have to design my protagonist because I am not going with the generic black hair bowl cut look. Sunwoo already has a design in my head. I've actually drawn him once on this channel with Kea. It was for the MS Paint challenge. Sunwoo is the one in white hair. I will say that I changed the placement of his moles in this reference sheet though. Why? I just felt like it. But also, I love adding moles on my muses sometimes. It's an extra little feature to help differentiate them since I'm not even going to deny that I suffer from same face syndrome. It's probably not as bad as I'm making it out to be, but I definitely have my face presets I stick with. Now, the real design part of this is making the clothes, which is why you're currently seeing me make a base sheet. I don't know why I drew the full body view the way I did, because it actually made my job so much harder when doing the back view. I couldn't do a clean copy and paste and flip. I guess I'm sticking with that now for future sheets and concepts I make for this. Normally I shade my sheets, but this time around, I decided I'm only going to do the details on the eyes and then just blush and lips for the skin. I'll leave everything else flat. It saves a lot of time, but it also allows me to not make a palette section of the sheet, so there's more room overall. I do like the look of a fully shaded sheet better though, but these are meant to be concepts, so it's fine. This isn't a bad look, and there's kind of an appeal to this type of simple shading when you pair it with a solid background like this. The part that took the longest here was definitely the base. I could not for the life of me do anatomy. I still can't do anatomy, but I haven't had the time to really study it properly. Life hits and you only have a limited amount of time. Probably makes everyone question why I'm even doing this if I barely have time. Well, I just want to. I'll somehow do it. Maybe. It's all dependent on my motivation. Sunwoo's body is definitely pain to draw because he's muscular. I find muscles hard to draw even though all of my main muses have muscles of some kind. But Sunwoo I know for sure definitely has them. He works out a lot. Actually, here's a bit of lore about him. Yongsang is sort of a father figure and mentor to him. So Sunwoo does have a lot of Yongsang's influence in his habits and the way he dresses kind of. You'll see why I say kind of later. Obviously, Sunwoo picked up the whole working out thing from Yongsang and now look at him. Sunwoo and Yongsang attended the same high school together in normal lore, and even if they're only 3 years apart in age, Yongsang kind of helped mentor and teach Sunwoo about life. You might be wondering what about the lore of the game. Mostly the same. Again, I won't spoil too much here, but the relationship those two have is kind of important. Alright, now I'll talk about the clothes I'm designing. So this is the main outfit here. I say main outfit because that's what you're going to see Sunwoo in most of the time, his work outfit. I had to do research to figure out what detectives even wear on the job. According to Google, apparently there's not like a standard uniform, so I cooked up something. It's basically a kind of business formal look. I also gave him an ID lanyard around his neck, but don't worry, he won't have it on him all of the time. I went back and forth in my head about whether I wanted to give him a vest or maybe a jacket, but ultimately decided on adding the both of them. I realized that despite how Sunwoo comes off, he is not really sloppy. He would care about his appearance. so he would definitely try to show up properly for work. You might notice that I'm drawing the line art without sketching here. Yeah, I wanted to just immediately do that, and that's why this maybe took longer than it should on some parts. Oh well. Because these are concepts, I really quickly created 3 color palettes for the outfit. I created a lighter palette, a darker one, and then one with all browns because that's a classic detective color palette. I did struggle with the swatches because I was picking from my own pre-made swatches. You know, I never really mess with the color wheel too much because if I make a color swatch I like and put it on, then when I try to get that same swatch, I'll have to mess with the color wheel again. And you might be wondering why I wouldn't just save the swatch. I'm a little weird where I kind of like my things in a particular order and setting, so yeah. Look at me making problems out of nothing. But anyways, the speed paint is probably ending soon, so I'll show the final concepts. Here are the color concepts for the main outfit. So as you can see, kind of different vibes with each of them because of the colors. Now, I trust my friend's totally professional opinion here. He said it was between the dark or brown palette. In the end, I went with the dark one though because let's say I have an idea with the brown color scheme for someone else. I could have ended the video at the main outfit, but I decided last minute that Sunwoo should have a casual outfit design. This section is really short though because since I already have the base, I only need to focus on drawing the clothes. For his casual outfit, I knew for sure he has to wear a leather jacket. It's definitely inspiration from Youngsing who lives in leather jackets at this point. He probably got a bunch of piercings in his ears and wears rings, but unlike Youngsing, he's not as rough looking. He still cares about his appearance a bit like I said. So I imagine he likes wearing white button-ups or other business casual things to pair with the leather jacket. Sometimes he'll dress comfortably, but only when he's not seeing someone. Otherwise, appearances are pretty much everything. He tried to not care about his appearance, but he ended up feeling a bit too self-conscious. I fear he hasn't learned Youngsing's ways of being completely nonchalant. I will say that when it came to doing the colors, I didn't know any other way the colors could go with this. It would just end up being all black with a white shirt. Or I could have colored this shirt with different colors, but I did like the look of the white shirt already, so I kept it. Figuring out the casual outfit was a lot easier than the main outfit. This outfit will probably not make as many appearances in the visual novel, but it's nice to have in case. Now, as I was doing the flat colors, I realized that it might not look like Sunwoo is wearing a leather jacket without shading. So I added very faint highlights and a label just in case. You'll notice that I added an additional reference for the piercings. I may as well just in case I draw the outfit, right? But also the 3/4 view doesn't show the left ear, so yeah. I promise I know my right and left. It's just that we're going off of the characters right and left, and not us as the viewer, so that's why it's labeled the way it is. Anyways, I don't have much else to say about the speed paint, so let me show the final concept. And here is the final concept for his casual outfit. Pretty simple outfit compared to his work clothes, but it works. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed the video. I definitely appreciate a like and subscribe if you do. It helped me a lot. Anyways, hopefully, I'll see you all in the next one. Until then, bye!